India movies love doing it to me. They like making sequels that I'm like, how's it connect? And they only connect by like 30 seconds of dialogue. It's kind of infuriating. Chase Lehocky here at the Blue Futon reviewing Hit the Second Case. What's this about? Pretty simple premise, actually. This was supposed to come out, I want to say, a couple years ago. Because of COVID, this got delayed until 2022. This is a sequel to Hit the First Case. And even though it's a sequel, it really doesn't have any of the old cast into the second movie. Unless I'm completely mistaken, it's been a couple of years since I've seen the first one. But what's this about? There's a serial killer that is killing women in horrific ways, and now this cop's got to figure out who it is, whose body parts are these, and is he going to be able to save other people in this story? So, do you like this film? I thought it was a pretty good, cop serial killer style of movie. Even though it peaked, it dipped, and it peaked again, where it went totally brutal, and I was expecting to go brutal all the way through, but it decided to take it a little bit more tame than I thought. So, let's talk about the positives. I do think the acting in this one is better than the first one. If I remember the first one correctly, there's a lot more overacting in that one. But this one was more of a calm, cool, collective detective that was like, yeah, he does some stuff, but it's nothing like overbearing, like, oh shit, he's a horrible policeman. Yeah, he's done like barely stuff that you could call it, bad shit, but not really. He's just a normal policeman that wants to catch the bad guy and make sure the right bad guy is caught. And speaking about what the crime is, I won't lie, I was just like watching the movie, kind of figuring out what was happening. Okay, yeah, they have the first murder that kind of like introduces the cop and what we're getting ourselves into. I'm like, okay, not bad. And then you see the first murder victim of the real serial killer. You go, oh, we're going brutal. We're going freaking brutal in this movie. So I literally was like, I was zoned in of like, oh shit, let's get this story going. But unfortunately, the story kind of falters in the middle of tropes that you've seen a million times before. For example, they think they catch the bad guy at the 45-minute mark. You go, well, I know that's not right. Or like the whole treehouse thing at the very beginning, you're like, well, how is that going to come to play? Because it hasn't come to play before the 45-minute mark. So of course it's not the same guy. It's a completely different suspect. So you're like, okay, so the same tropes are there. It also leaves a little bit to the audience to say, like, what is actually happening in this police station. The reason I say that is when someone is about to die in the forest, something else happens to him. And I don't know if I understood it correctly, if it was him doing it or this actual force that made this person die. So I was a little bit confused on that level of like, okay, what are we actually trying to prove here? I understand the whole sentiment of cops are good, even though that was a really awkward, like Instagram, Facebook style of cutting, but it is what it is on that level. But then at the very end, you go, okay, we're going back into like Sicario style of killing and style of like, oh shit, okay, I'm digging into it. But then I realized like the amount of people he killed, like how was he able to hide the bodies and then remodel the room with no one noticing? And I was just like, I don't know if this actually makes sense, but I understand exactly what they're doing. I do wish they did connect this movie with the first one. The only time it really connects is saying the guy that got shot at the very end of the first one went into hiding because there was another cop that was trying to kill him. Okay, I understand that. But the way you end the first one and you begin this story with like no correlations whatsoever, and you just put in a random like dialogue scene of like, and this is how we connect, it kind of feels a little cheap for the audience overall. And at the very end, I do think this one is a way better ending than the first one. It's a satisfying conclusion, and it does add a stepping stool of where the third case is going to go. And just by the imagery of the last like 3 minutes of the movie, it's going to go pretty freaking brutal. And I did do some research, and a guy on Twitter said, yeah, we're about to go like freaking hard for the third one. Pretty brutal and ruthless. So I am ready to embrace that brutalness because this one, it had it. You're like, oh my God, that is some 7-level, like David Fincher style of killing. But then they just kind of taper off. And you're like, man, I know that's kind of like effed up to say, like you want the brutality to keep going, but how you start it and you get those endorphins going of like, oh my God, what's this guy doing? I want to see more, messed up stuff that he has done. So when the final conclusion of the bad guy dying is like a more impactful punch, it's just not as satisfying as I want it to be. But I think as a movie experience, it's less than 2 hours. It does its job for a serial killer style of movie, and I cannot wait for the third one, even though I doubt it's going to even link to the first or second one, which I hope at least one of these combines the cops together to be like the most ruthless, fucked up case in India, but we will see what happens. But if you like serial killer movies, if you like cop movies, if you like movies under 2 hours, I do think this is a pretty solid outing. So Hit, the second case, will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futon. It goes at 70%. So see the critics' news scores gave this one. So you have critics. There's 3 of them. Let's see what it gave it. It gave it a positive, a 2.5 out of 5, which is a 50. So I don't know how that's a positive. But anyway, according to Rotten Tomato, it is a 3 and absolutely no audience score for this one. That's very interesting. But anyways, we have 170 chase out with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know things Bhutan Topi, Tony Snake. Watch. Have a great day. And yeah, I think it's an overall good experience. Just let me know more Indian movies coming out. I saw there's one on Amazon Prime called like DHISMAN2. I knew I need to watch that one. Pathan. Hopefully that comes to Netflix or Amazon in the near future because it's out of theaters. And Amigos. Apparently that was one, but the trailer did look a little bit awkward of the guy like crawling under the bed of like peekaboo. And I was like, what the hell is this?